ਬੈਂਕ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਧਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰਾਂ 4.5% ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਮਹਿੰਗਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਠੱਲ ਪਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਬੈਂਕ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮਾਰਚ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ 7 ਵਾਰੀ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਧਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਹੈ।
Our policy decision today has two elements. First, we raised our policy interest rate by 25 basis points to 4.5%, and we are continuing quantitative tightening. Second, if economic developments evolve broadly in line with the forecast we published today, we expect to hold the policy rate at its current level while we assess the impact of the cumulative 425 basis point increase in our policy rate. We've raised rates rapidly, and now it's time to pause and assess whether monetary policy is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation back to the 2% target. At our last two policy decisions, the Governing Council said we would be assessing how tighter monetary policy is working to slow demand, how supply chains are evolving, and how inflation and inflation expectations are responding. These assessments, together with our revised forecast, were important inputs into our policy decision. Recent data suggests that the restrictive stance of monetary policy is dampening household spending, particularly on housing and big-ticket items. But economic growth and employment in the second half of 2022 were stronger than we expected. And so excess demand in the economy has persisted, putting continued upward pressure on prices. Simply put, our overheated economy has not cooled as much as we expected. Global supply chains, on the other hand, are resolving more quickly than expected. And while we're not back to normal yet in Canada, we have seen substantial progress. CPI inflation declined to 6.3% in December, reflecting lower energy prices and some moderation in the prices for durable goods as supply improved and demand softened. Lower gasoline prices are welcome, but prices of essentials like groceries and rent continue to increase too quickly. Measures of core inflation have also been stuck at about 5%. With 3 months rates below year-over-year increases, core inflation will likely start to come down in the months ahead. Still, core inflation needs to continue to decline for total CPI inflation to get back to the 2% target. Regarding expected inflation, our surveys indicate that fewer households and businesses think inflation will stay high for a long time, but short-term inflation expectations remain elevated and are above our own inflation forecast. Based on these assessments, the Governing Council concluded that a further modest increase in the policy rate is appropriate. The bank's ongoing program of quantitative tightening is complementing this restrictive stance. Looking ahead, we know it takes time for higher interest rates to work through the economy to slow demand and reduce inflation. And given the speed and magnitude of the interest rate increases over the last year, their full effect is still to come.